It's surrender to God that opens us up to surrender to people. Grace and peace, everybody. Welcome to Sabbath School Study Group. This is part number 4. You will probably best enjoy and embrace what we're talking about now if you take the time to watch part 3. Because it's there that we see the need for us to find our success in our missionary efforts by the heart of our mission, and not what happens as a result of it. And Abraham had to make a decision when he was praying this prayer, this attitude he had to even pray for those who were his enemies. He is praying because he's learned to surrender to God. And because he surrendered to God, he's able to surrender that natural animosity or that cultural bias or that frustration that can move us to want to push away from those that we need to be praying for. He had already surrendered to God. And evidence of that is him surrendering to God. And then we see an example of him actually surrendering to a man that he actually should have had surrendering to him. It's in chapter 12 that we see the call of Abraham. Here it is, the official call. Verse 1 says, "Now the Lord said unto Abraham, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee." Here's the call. This was the command, right? Notice, please remember this. All of God's calls are commands. Because in the call, he says, go. And how do we know that Abraham surrenders to God? He goes. Right there in verse 4, it says that so Abraham departed. Departed is a pretty word for go. And as the Lord had spoken unto him, he departed. And Lot went with him. And Abraham was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. Just a side note, you don't have to be young to obey. Now, the younger you are and the sooner we obey, the better. But it's never too late to do the right thing. It's never too late to make the right choice as long as there is the chance to choose. So whether we're 5, 7, or 75, we can always say yes. So this is what Abraham does. He surrenders to God. This kind of heart puts him in a position to surrender to those who ought to be surrendering to him. That's exactly what happened with his nephew Lot. Genesis chapter 13 verses 8 through 9 says, "And Abraham said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen, for we be brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left." This was an example of surrendering. Even when he had the right, he had the power. He should have been the one waiting for this young man to suggest, well, Uncle Abraham, I don't want to cause any trouble. I'm blessed because I'm with you. You've looked out for me. You've taken care of me. Look, you make your call and I'll go the other direction. That's what should have happened. There are a lot of things that should be happening in our lives. There are a lot of people who should be coming to us. There are a lot of things that others should be doing, but they don't preclude us from the opportunity of doing what we could be doing. And that's what Abraham did. He chose to surrender to Lot because he had already surrendered to God. And because of that, regardless of Lot's choice, Abraham knew God's got my back. I'm surrendering to you, but ultimately I'm surrendering to God. You think I'm working for you or this paycheck, but actually I'm faithful to this job. I'm faithful to this class. I'm faithful to this responsibility because I'm faithful to God. And to be faithful to him is to be faithful to you. Great employee, great student, great servant, great husband, great father, great mother, great wife. All of these greats are for the sake of the great one. And if we could learn to surrender to God, how you know? This is how we know. How can I know if I'm actually living a life surrendered to God? When was the last time you surrendered to somebody that should have been surrendering to you? When was the last time you said yes to someone who should have been saying yes to you? Even so, when was the last time we forgave someone when they should have been apologizing to us? That was a little while ago. Let's ask for the Lord to bring us to that place where we can surrender to him in order, for their sake, to surrender to others.